Did you know that there is a volcano capable of affecting the entire planet, even if you live on the other side of the world? We're not talking about lava destroying a city. We're talking about a volcano so massive that it could change Earth's climate, disrupt global food systems, and reshape human civilization for years. In this video, we'll answer one simple question. What would happen if the most dangerous volcano on Earth erupted today? We'll explore what would happen in the first hours, the first days, the months that follow, and how this single event could affect humanity as a whole. And no, this is not science fiction. This volcano exists. The most dangerous volcano in the world doesn't look dangerous at all. It's not a towering mountain spewing lava. It doesn't glow. It doesn't erupt regularly. In fact, millions of people have walked right over it, without even realizing it. It's called Yellowstone, and it's located in the United States. From the surface, Yellowstone looks calm and harmless. Vast forests, wildlife roaming freely, lakes, rivers, and famous geysers. It feels peaceful. But beneath that peaceful surface lies one of the most powerful geological systems on Earth. Deep below Yellowstone sits an enormous magma chamber, one of the largest ever discovered, so massive that scientists don't classify Yellowstone as a normal volcano, but as a supervolcano. A normal volcano can destroy a city. A supervolcano can affect entire continents. The difference isn't just lava, it's the sheer amount of ash, gas, and material released into the atmosphere. In Yellowstone's case, a full-scale eruption could eject more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of volcanic material. To put that into perspective, that's enough ash to bury entire countries under several meters of debris. And most importantly, that ash wouldn't stay in one place. If Yellowstone were to erupt today, the first warning wouldn't be an explosion. It would be the ground itself. A powerful sequence of earthquakes would begin to shake the region. Not small tremors, massive quakes repeating over hours, possibly even days. Roads would crack, bridges would weaken, buildings, dams, and infrastructure would begin to fail. Entire communities could be damaged before the eruption even starts. Emergency systems would be overwhelmed, communications disrupted, and evacuations would become chaotic. And then, the eruption would begin. This wouldn't look like lava slowly flowing downhill. It would be sudden, violent, explosive. Powerful blasts would launch rock, ash, and superheated gas at incredible speeds. Cities within hundreds of kilometers would be exposed to a deadly combination of shock waves, extreme temperatures, massive ashfall. In these zones, survival would be nearly impossible. Within just a few hours, the area surrounding the volcano would become completely uninhabitable. Not for days, not for weeks, for decades, but that would only be the beginning. Because what happens next would not stay within the United States. It would affect people who have never heard of Yellowstone. As chaos unfolds near the eruption site, something far more dangerous begins to form. A massive cloud of volcanic ash rises into the upper layers of the atmosphere. This is not a normal cloud. Volcanic ash is made of tiny, abrasive particles that can remain suspended for long periods of time. Carried by high-altitude winds, this ash can travel thousands of kilometers. And this is the moment when the problem stops being regional and becomes global. It wouldn't matter where you live. North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, distance would no longer be protection. In the days that follow, the ash cloud would spread across continents and oceans. In many parts of the world, the sky would begin to change. Mornings would look darker, sunsets would appear redder, days would receive noticeably less sunlight. This wouldn't just be an unusual sight, it would be a warning. As ash fills the atmosphere, it acts like a giant filter, blocking part of the sun's radiation from reaching Earth's surface. Gradually, global temperatures would begin to drop. At first, the change might seem small. Cooler summers, colder nights, but over time the effects would intensify. Weather patterns would become unstable. Some regions would experience unseasonal rainfall. Others would face extended droughts. Cold waves would arrive where they don't belong. Ecosystems would struggle to adapt, and agriculture would be hit first. Months after the eruption, the planet would enter a phase known as a volcanic winter. During a volcanic winter, the average global temperature could drop between 3 and 5 degrees Celsius. That number may not sound dramatic, but for Earth's climate system, it would be devastating. Seasons would lose their reliability. Growing cycles would shorten. Sunlight available for plants would decrease. Many crops would fail before reaching maturity. Others wouldn't grow at all. Countries that rely heavily on food imports would face immediate shortages. The result would be unavoidable. Global food scarcity, rapid price inflation, food insecurity for hundreds of millions of people. This would not be a regional famine, it would be worldwide. As agricultural output collapses across the globe, the true crisis begins. Because when food becomes scarce, everything changes. Governments would be forced to take drastic action. Food rationing would become common. Consumption would be strictly controlled. Exports would be restricted or banned entirely. Countries that normally feed the world would turn inward. Regions dependent on imports would be left exposed. And at this point, the greatest danger would no longer be the volcano. It would be humanity itself. Fear, scarcity, competition for survival. Daily life would change almost overnight. In many regions, people would begin leaving their homes in search of stability. Areas with milder climates or stronger food reserves would attract massive waves of migration. These movements would place enormous pressure on borders, cities, healthcare systems. Basic infrastructure, social tensions would rise. Local conflicts would become more frequent. The global economy would not escape the shock. Transportation networks would break down. Factories would shut down, markets would crash. Supply chains, already fragile, would collapse at multiple points. This would lead to shortages of basic goods, rising unemployment, loss of income for millions. Technology would still exist, but its role would change. Entertainment and constant consumption would no longer matter. Survival would. After all of this, one unavoidable question remains. Could humanity survive a world like this? The answer is yes. Humanity would not go extinct, but survival would come at a cost. Regions heavily affected by ashfall and extreme cold would become nearly impossible to inhabit. However, some areas would have better chances of adaptation. Regions near the equator, areas with more stable climates, countries with strategic food reserves. In these places, limited agriculture could continue, communities would adapt. The modern lifestyle, based on abundance, speed, and constant global transport, would no longer be sustainable. People would rely more on local production, food storage community cooperation. Large cities would shrink. Smaller, self-sufficient regions would become more important. Humanity wouldn't return to the Stone Age. Science would survive, knowledge would remain, much of our infrastructure would still exist. But progress would slow dramatically. Resources would be focused on essentials, energy, food production. Clean water innovation would continue, but with one clear goal: adaptation. Although Yellowstone is an active supervolcano, an eruption of this magnitude is not expected anytime soon. Scientists constantly monitor seismic activity, ground deformation, gas emissions. So far, there are no clear signs of an imminent super eruption. But on geological timescales, Yellowstone has erupted before, and it will erupt again someday. The real issue isn't the immediate probability. It's the impact such an event would have on a civilization deeply dependent on fragile global systems. We often think the greatest threats to humanity come from space or from conflicts we create ourselves. But some of the most devastating events are entirely natural and completely beyond our control. Yellowstone is not a daily threat, but it is a powerful reminder. We live on an active planet, and our civilization exists thanks to a very delicate balance. Not to scare us, but to remind us how fragile everything we take for granted truly is.